Hello. This class on hip opening alignment is best suited for those who maybe work at a computer desk or sit a lot and they get very tight in the hips, and or anybody who holds a lot of stress, whether it's it could be anything from anger with inside of a family conflict to looking at the state of the world and being triggered and bothered, of course, because there's so much we need to fix in the world. And a lot of us tend to carry that literally in our bodies. When we feel that stress in our mind, it stores in our physical tissues. And this is one of the reasons we can feel so tight, quite literally weighed down, whether it's with depression or, whatever you're experiencing that gets you down. When we experience that, if we don't properly process it, it gets stored somewhere in the body. And if it was something that made us a little bit angry or triggered or upset, often it can be stored in the hips. So this is why you'll see those memes on Instagram or wherever where you do have pigeon pose, which we'll do today, and you see somebody talking about how it made them cry. So this is why it is a really healthy, productive way to release that stored emotion. So you can come back to the center of who you are, which when we get rid of all that stored stress is quite a peaceful place. And a big reason we want to do that, especially with the state of the world, if you are working on environmental or political or justice issues, you can do so from a centered whole place versus burned out and depleted. So this is really important. Went a little bit deeper than just yoga, but it is really important, and the hips hold so much stuff. I'm really excited to teach this class and practice with you. So the only thing you'll need, not absolutely necessary, but if you have your blocks, put them up towards the front of your mat. And if you don't have blocks, don't worry, they're not super urgent for today's class, but we will touch on a couple places you can use them. Other than that, thank you for joining me, and we will get started. Hey, P.S. There's a place in class where you may need a strap or a towel. We're going to put our arm behind like this, grab a hold. So if you feel like you want a towel, grab it right now. All right, just a comfortable seats, butt bones down. For now, don't worry about your legs, but our first posture will be cross-legged, whether you have one foot in front of the other like me, or you have them actually crossed over. If this is difficult on your hips already and you're like, whoa, okay, my hips are too tight already and they're up here, that's fine. This is one of the times we can use that block and just give your butt a little bit of support. That way your legs don't have to take so much of that pressure. So wherever you want to be to start, perfectly fine. And then just coming to the breath. Quite fitting with all that's going on in the state of the world that today would be on our hip alignment. So any stress you've been storing up, hopefully we'll shift through and move some of that out of your body so you feel a lot calmer, a lot more at peace with who you are, and move forward in your day from there. All right. Take a really deep breath in through the nose. Open up your mouth, deep breath out. And remember, when we make that big exhale, that HA, a really big sigh, it triggers the brain to say, okay, it's safe for me to relax. So regardless what's going on outside, it lets your body know you can come out of that fight or flight a little bit so that you can think a little bit more clearly, a little bit more logically. We're again going into your future actions you'll take, but this is our very important stepping stone. Can we get out of that fight or flight into the calmer, the parasympathetic nervous system? So let's try that again. Take a really deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath out. Perfect. One more full breath in. Full breath out. I think at the end of this class too, we'll do a little meditation. Do a meditation for world peace. But honestly, we'll do a meditation that can help change your vibration and change a little bit of the energy around you as well, which will be really good. Let's do one more really deep breath in. Deep breath out. Start to draw your belly button toward your spine. And if you are familiar with the bandhas, which is a root lock in yoga, if you're not, you don't need to know. Don't worry about it. We'll cover it in another month. But for now, just see if you can squeeze your P muscles a little bit And then what would it feel like if you drew them up your body a little bit? And so this is the start of our bandhas. And we'll, again, go into more depth later. You don't need to know about it right now. Just see what you can engage in the pelvic floor and the lower belly. There is no right or wrong. For now, just feel. We're just being present with our body. Which, as you can see from the start of this, me talking about social issues, I'm not very in my body right now. I'm more in my mental state. So this will be a good practice for me too. Can we come into the body? 2 more breaths just to feel your butt bones ground down. Start to feel even what your toes feel like. Can you feel your toes? And if you notice that you cannot, that's okay. Often we are so in our mind and our energy is so high or different or stressed that we actually don't really notice what our toes feel like. So wiggle them around, see how much you can feel if there's any sensations in your toes. Deep breath. Soften around the shoulders, the jaw. If you notice you are in your head a lot, just acknowledge. It's not good or bad, right or wrong, just notice. And then imagine, you can even do a little visual, like you're gathering yourself up and going in an elevator down into the heart space. Can you draw that awareness from the mind into the heart? And can you breathe fully into the chest as if when you inhale, you expand around the heart? And when you breathe out, you kind of ground down through the butt bones. So we go over this meditation in much more detail in the meditation course, which I can link below for you, but we'll do a mini meditation at the end too, where we really touch into this. Or at least do the basics of it for you. Try again. Inhale, lift up around the heart space. Exhale, can you feel your butt bones ground back down? Can you still feel your toes? Inhale, as if there's energy moving from the ground. You can even picture like this red line of energy from the earth or roots or however you want to picture it, coming all the way up through the spine, coming just around the heart. And then exhale, reconnect back down with the earth. Now, if you're not cross-legged yet, go ahead and get cross-legged with, I know I said you could do your ankles crossed, but see if you can manage just one foot in front of the other. And if you can't, that's okay. You can be cross-legged with them propped up a little bit. Or you could even put your blocks, if you're sitting on a block, you might need 3 blocks. Get a pillow, put a lot of blocks there to prop up if it's too much on your inner thighs. Have a breath in, lift up through the heart. And then exhale, keeping a tall spine, just go ahead and walk your arms forward. I don't know if I'll end up still on camera, but just kind of fold over. I'll see if I can back up a bit so that you're just draped over the thighs, your ankles, and just relax down as much as you can. So you should get a pretty deep, or maybe just subtle, depending on your flexibility, stretch in that front leg, maybe both, but specifically that front leg. And wherever you go to, take a really deep breath in and really gentle. We're not pushing, we're not stretching, we're not overstretching that thigh yet. We're just feeling and softening. So don't push deeper into the stretch. Just feel and soften. Take 3 more breaths. Deep breath in through the nose and see if even in this position you can fill all the way up to the lower belly. Exhale, open up your mouth, breathe out. Finish the next exhale and then come on up, long arms. Switch which leg you have in front. And being mindful of the knees too. Remember, if you need them propped up, prop them up. You shouldn't feel any kind of pain or any kind of pulling in the knees. This is just very passive, very relaxed, no forcing. Walk your arms forward and fold over. Wherever is comfortable for you. If you don't make it very far, maybe you go to here, that's okay. A lot of yoga is just noticing where we are, and can we just notice and be okay with wherever we are? It's the practice of that inner state of balance. Could mean balancing on one foot, which we might do today, or just how balanced are we in our own bodies? Is our right and left hemisphere of the brain balanced, which is what brings us into that calm, clear state? 2 more breaths. One more deep breath in. Deep breath out. Come on up. Perfect. All right. Let's get flowing. Your blocks are near the top of your mat. On hands and knees to warm up the wrists a tiny bit. Spine, fingers spread wide. Breath in lifts the heart, the head, and the butt bones. And then breath out, starting at the low back, butt bones towards the back of your knees. You're going to tuck. See what that changes in your lower belly. Draw the belly in, and from there, squeeze and round all the way up to a tuck chin. And when you need to inhale, start at the low back. Tilt those butt bones up like you're going vertebrae by vertebrae through the mid, then upper back head lifts, full inhale. Exhale, round. Good. On an exhale, extend your right toes to the back of the mat. Stretch your heart forward and press into your right heel to feel that stretch along the back leg, maybe through the calf or foot. Take another inhale. Exhale, press more through your left hand, so much so that you start to pour the weight over. Reach the right arm up. This back foot is going to be pinky toe edge down, and your left leg acts as a kickstand. Reach your arm high. Modified side plank. And already here, we're starting to feel that same hip opening we did last week when we worked on Warrior 2, just turning our hips to the side. You might feel a little bit of that opening because of the position of your bottom leg. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale, right hand down. So this is just really subtle movement through the hips, rotating side to side. Let's extend the left leg to the back, press through the heel, and then charge your heart forward as if there's a string on it. Practicing for that social justice when we charge forward with our hearts. But honestly, press through the left leg, heart forward. Exhale, back foot down, left arm reaches up. Top arm reaches way, way up. Take a full deep breath in. Notice where you are in this exact moment. Come back to the body. What are you feeling in your body? One more deep breath in. Exhale, come back. Saying that because I feel like my social justice comment might have pulled you into your head again, so my apologies. We'll talk about it after class. But for now, let's get into the body. Tuck your toes, lift your butt up and back. Pedal your feet back and forth. Being right here, right now. With your feet on the mat, or the carpet, or the cement or grass, wherever you're practicing. Notice how your toes feel again. Can we come back to that simple awareness of can we actually feel ourselves grounding down into the earth? Can we lift our butt bones up a little more and draw our ears towards our thumbs? We get a little length through the back of the neck. Full breath in, open up the mouth, breathe out. Little warm up. Inhale, round, forward, high push-up. From your high push-up, look forward. Just walk your feet to meet your hands. Easy forward folds. If you need to be on your blocks, you're on your blocks. Bend the knees at least a little. Draw the heart forward, find that halfway lift, or if you're already in forward fold, no problem, just stay. Exhale, fold down. Relaxing through the back of that neck. So along with our hips holding a lot of stress, a lot of agitation, a lot of anger, our neck and shoulders hold a lot of worry, a lot of stress in the form of sadness, overwhelm, all of that. So when you get tight shoulders, it's literally representing feeling that weight of the world. So we're going to relax a lot of that stress today. And even in this position, roll your shoulders around. Take a really deep breath in. Deep breath out. Relaxing through the back of the neck. And then halfway lift, heart forward, hands are on your blocks or the floor. Breathe out, drop your butt halfway. Stand up through chair. So squeezing the low belly, drawing your hands all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center. Feet hip width apart, find a solid foundation. Draw the belly to the spine. Inhale, lift up through the heart and the crown of the head. On your exhale, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Now take your left arm out to the side, thumb face down, bend the elbow, turn around and bring your hand behind your back. If you cannot reach, you can just put your hand on your hip or slide your fingers wherever they go. If it goes across your back, you take your right hand, grab onto the wrist, gently draw it a little bit more over, maybe even interlace the hands. It doesn't matter so much, wherever is comfortable for you. And then recheck on the core. So as we're pushing our back, the core might forget to engage. No problem, we just re-engage a little. Take another deep breath in. Deep breath deep breath out. Right ear, right shoulder. Breath in. Exhale, slow motion. Rock your chin toward your chest. Feel what stretches along the back of your neck. Keep the tall posture everywhere all the way up until your cervical, your neck spine. And then go back to the right ear, right shoulder. Very gently drop your head back, super gentle. If there's any pinching, if there's any discomfort, don't do it. Just rock forward again. One more time, forward. Really slowly paying attention to what you feel. And then slow motion releasing that left arm. Lift up the neck, do a little gentle shake. Refeel your feet plant down solid. Inhale, lift up through the heart, through the crown of the head. Exhale, down through the feet. We ground first. We take care of ourselves first. We ground down. Inhale, lift up through the head. Exhale, left ear, left shoulder. Perfect. Now the right arm is going to stretch out to the side, thumb down, and then from there, we're letting that arm slide behind our back wherever it goes. If you want to pause this and grab a towel, forgot to say in the beginning, you can get a towel and kind of guide it over, or not a towel, but if you can hang on to the towel this way, if you cannot reach. Otherwise, guide that arm gently. Maybe interlace your fingers and hold strong. And then notice what happens in the core. Once we get that grip, we have a tendency to let go in the core, so belly button to the spine. Now our left ear is still towards our left shoulder, or if not, bring it there again. Really gentle. Not a good or bad, right or wrong, just slowly feel. Like you're using the breath. This little comb. One of my teachers, Megan, will talk about using a comb to search through your body to look for the stress. Think of it like the magic school bus with her bus going into the body and looking for the different parts of stress. On an exhale, chin to chest. Slow motion. Notice what you feel. Can you breathe into the tight spots of your neck, of around that shoulder? Inhale, lift your left shoulder. Slow motion. If it doesn't bother you, drop your head back. Keep breathing. One more time, chin center. And then very gently, let go of the bind. Pick your head up. Super, super easy. Shake. Feet towards the front of the mat. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up. Stretch out. On the exhale, fold forward. Breathe in. Find the halfway lift. Keep that length. Plant your palms. Step just to a downward facing dog. Inhale, round forward, high push-up. On your exhale, lower down, low push-up. We learned this a few weeks ago, so let's practice. Halfway down. Tops of your feet press. Draw the heart forward, almost like a slingshot. The heart goes forward as the shoulders go back. Exhale, just have a seat on your heels. And sit on your butt. Now we got some blood flow. Let's come to the hips for a moment. So we've talked before, I'm going to do a mini workshop. We've talked before about when we do figure four, it's important to flex the foot. So what this does is it creates this muscular cast around the knee. This is really important as you go into more advanced postures like lotus. You'll see Ashtanga practitioners where they put both feet up like this. So the reason that the foot flexed is it creates this cast around the knee so that you don't pull anything in a funny way. So if you have any old knee injuries or you're extra tight, this is vitally important. I highly recommend you never force yourself into a lotus pose. And the reason I say that so passionately is because one day when I was really tight, I didn't force it, but I was tight and I put my foot into a lotus and then my knee popped. And I forget what it's called, but it was a pretty painful injury. Another story, however, my knee's okay now, and just be really mindful of when you are bending your knees. So the cast is really important. And when we're doing different poses like this, I want to talk too about how the bone actually rotates in your leg. So have a seat on the ground. Check that your butt bones, you can even like grab onto your butt, pull it back so the butt bone is down. Pull this one too. And if you are having trouble sitting up straight, you can be against a wall or roll up a blanket and put that underneath your butt bones. Even me, I'm a little bit rounded right now because I'm still working on that flexibility to sit up straight. It'll come over time though. I am confident. Also because I started like this. So I've come a long way. So legs out in front and just rock your legs side to side and just kind of feel how it feels. Notice whatever you do feel. Don't worry about the hips right now. Just kind of rock side to side. Actually, since we're sitting, let's do a nice little hamstring stretch. So again, we mentioned a towel. If you want to pause this, try to throw in the beginning a reminder to get a strap or a towel. But you can grab a strap or a towel if you can't reach your feet, or just grab onto your shin bones. For the longest time, I would just grab onto my legs. Wherever you touch, perfectly fine. We're just going to get a little stretch through the legs. So point your toes towards your face. Take a deep breath and lift your heart. And then exhale, draw your chest toward your toes. A little stretch in the legs. Perfect. So let's relax the right leg, relax the left leg a little. And notice, if I were to keep my left leg really tense, even through the thigh, and try to bring it up and then open it to cross over, it wouldn't really go very far. Remember last week when we broke down Warrior 2 and we bent the knees and we softened, and that allowed more movement around the hip girdle. Do a little dance. So we're doing the same thing in our hip openers. Even though we keep the muscle cast from the shin down, our thigh is going to try to stay relaxed. So it looks something like this. We relax around the thigh bone, let the leg roll out from here, then bring in and cast up the lower leg. Does this make sense? Because if you keep the whole leg active, and we're going to do this in a standing posture, it can be really difficult to get that full rotation and turn. So what we're doing is we're allowing a little bit of softness to rotate this leg open. And from there, once we start to bring the knee up, we bend and open. I hope that makes sense. Let's try it together. So if you are already practicing, switch up the leg. Otherwise, have our right leg extended long, Left leg, we'll do both ways. Left leg, flex the foot, flex the calf, flex the thigh as much as you can. Squeeze the pelvic floor, squeeze the butt, and bring it in. Keep all that tension, keep all that tension, keep all that tension. See if you can cross over, keep all the tension. Slowly, just go where it stops. Slowly see where it goes. Mine didn't go far. All right, let's test. Relax the leg. Relax. Now right leg stays where it is. Left leg, relax. Soften around the hip. Let it roll, rotate open. From there, start to draw the thigh bone in as we bend the knee before we cross it over our leg. We're going to get that muscular cast. Now cross it over. See if that goes a little bit deeper for you automatically without having to force into the stretch. Did that make sense? Hopefully you could feel it in your body. So when we're getting into the hip openers, we want a little bit of softness in that joint to allow for it to open up wider. Okay, thank you. We have a guest for our yoga practice. Let's switch sides. So we have our left leg out and we'll test both ways. So our left leg chills, right leg, flex, contract, squeeze the toes, squeeze the calf, squeeze the knee, squeeze the thigh, squeeze everything you can imagine, pelvic floor, hip, all of it. And then bring it up slowly. Keep everything squeezed, gently cross it over. Kim, you're blocking my view. Come here. Gently cross it over and then see where the leg opens up to. Maybe not far. Take note and then let's go again. Right leg out, shake, relax. Now keep the leg relaxed. Let it fall open to the side gently. Draw it up. Then, before we cross it over the leg, do you think that I'm talking to you? Flex the foot really strong. Cross it over. And from there, the leg should naturally open up a lot deeper, allowing you to get into that stretch without the strain. Do you like to stretch? Yeah. Thank you. And we just feel the stretch for a moment and breathe. So it's important to strengthen up the muscular cast, bottom half of the leg, and relax around the hip as we get into it. So let's get flowing. Bring your legs in, cross over, downward facing dog. Take 2 deep breaths. I'm pressing through the left foot. On an inhale, stretch your right leg high. And then even here, you can really squeeze through the thigh, squeeze the knee, squeeze the butt, squeeze, and actually squeeze the left thigh as well and see if you can stack your hip. It might be a little bit trickier. Now bring the right foot back down, shake everything out a little bit, loosen up through the hips, and now stay relaxed in the right hip a bit and see if you can reach that leg higher. So naturally, the flexibility is a bit more open. From there, we can find our muscle strength. Take the right knee to the nose, step the foot in front of the palms or in between the palms, lower the back knee flat. So we'll work on flexibility in another month, but I want to touch on really quickly when we're shifting through different parts of our practice. If you are hypermobile, if you are overly flexible, it's a good idea to create that muscular cast all the time because you're naturally going to go past what might be appropriate for your joints. But if you are tight, if you don't have what a lot of people call a natural flexibility, you're not hypermobile, then it's okay to soften and relax. So I just want to clarify, if you are super bendy, hypermobile, it's a good idea to keep that muscular cast. If you have questions on that, for sure type it in the comments and I can be a little more clear. So heart forward, breath in, exhale, one more breath where we are, soften through the left hip down, breathe out, breathe in, heart forward, exhale, shift back, pull your right toes towards your face, spread your toes wide, breath in, half lift, exhale, soften over the leg, replant the right foot down, tuck the back knee, lift up, and then high lunge. Come all the way up, reach your arms high. Exhale, soften. Good. This will be a good example. Inhale, lift the heart high. Right now, the back thigh might be a little bit strengthened So as we drop our back foot flat, to open up into the warrior two, we're going to bend that knee, soften the hips to let them turn open to the side. Then we get that cast again in the leg. So repress to the pinky toe edge. Arms reach forward and back. 2 breaths. Feel what you feel going on in this front thigh. We've already softened in the hips, so now we're going to find the strength. Press into that front foot. Feel the strength in that front thigh. Take 1 more deep breath in. Deep breath out. On your exhale, look forward. Hands to the blocks or the floor. Walk the back foot in. That was a messy transition. Sorry, guys. It'll be smoother on the next side. Find a little bit of a halfway lift while your left foot is a little bit in the air. Similar to the half moon we did before, we're going to keep our heart pulling forward. Just practice what we did last week by lifting the back leg up. And then start to open up the hip. Again, if you have everything really strong and contracted, see what it feels like. Or drop the hip back down. Now soften a little bit through the left thigh and see if you can stack a little bit easier. And then find that strength. Find that grounding through the bottom leg. It might open a little bit more, and then we come back to that strength. Maybe reach the left arm up. Take 1 deep breath. Exhale all your hands, all your toes to the floor. Fold down. Breathe in, halfway lift. Breathe out, fold. Slow motion, come on all the way up to standing. Amazing. Good. Press through the left foot. Sink into the left foot. And inhale, reach the right knee high. Flex the foot. Cross the ankle. So we're going to practice again that rotating open the thigh before we find a lot of that muscular contraction. So we don't need to be like super loosey-goosey, but just play around with it. Where is your appropriate balance? So we have the foot flexed, but can we soften around the thigh a little bit? So as we open up, as we rotate that thigh bone open, there's space and we're not contracting by keeping everything really tight. Does this make sense? When we tighten up the butt and the thigh too much, those bones can't move as easily. If we stay relaxed, then we can allow that thigh bone to turn out and we get a little more range of motion. Cross that ankle over. And for this, you can have your hand on a wall, chair, back of your couch, wherever you need, or hands to heart. Breathe in, lift the heart up. Now that we have our thigh in place, it's already rotated open. All we're going to do is shift our butt bones back and our heart forward to deepen that stretch. And you might feel like you're able to go a little bit deeper already because we let the thigh bone rotate open. Breathe. 2 more breaths. Take 1 more really deep breath in. Deep breath out. Inhale, stand all the way up again. Arms reach up. Our leg re-squares. Extend your toes out long in front. Take a deep, deep, deep breath in. Exhale, hands to heart. Slow motion. It is okay if and when you fall. No problem. We're just working on balance. Right toes straight back. Heart pulls forward as much as your right toes pull back. Bend the standing leg. Slow, slow motion. High lunge. Amazing. Arms reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Step back, downward dog. Breathe. 1 more really deep breath in. Deep breath out. Back to the body, back to the breath. Pause if you need a longer break. Honor your body and take the break. Right toes press down. When you're ready, keeping the left leg a little bit softer, reach it straight up. Now just notice how far you can open the hip and then lower it down. Now, squeeze the left toes. Squeeze the left leg. Draw the belly in. Lift that leg up. So we're just doing this test to notice. When we come into this pose, a lot of times we will strengthen, but since we're not crossing that leg open and forcing the stretch more, it's okay. But I just want you to notice, what does it feel like both times with it relaxed and with it super tight? So you can start to see how it affects how tightly you hold your muscles. One more time, inhale, left leg high. Exhale, pull your knee to your nose, plant the foot between your hands. Lower the back foot flat. Pause and breathe. So next month we'll be working a lot on strength. So our last alignment class for a bit. So next month will be strength, and we'll start to play around with that balance of when should I be holding things strong? When should I be relaxing? So if you're like, whoa, she just talked a lot about when do I strengthen, when do I relax? Don't worry. We're going to get into it all next month on finding that balance between soft and strong. Take one more deep breath in. Deep breath out. Shift your butt bones back. Pull your left toes towards your face. Feel the stretch in that hamstring. One more deep breath in. Deep breath out. Replant the left foot. High lunge. Tuck the back toes under. Lift the arms up. You can have a bend in the back knee. Arms reach way up. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Full inhale. On your exhale, lower the back leg. And notice how it feels in the hips as that leg is a little bit stronger. And then soften the back leg, bend the knee, and notice if the hip girdle, your pelvis can turn open to the side wall. From there, straighten up the back leg. Press into the front foot, and that knee tracks straight over those toes. So it's not going out, it's not tipping in, straight over your toes. Breath in lifts the heart. Breath out softens around the shoulders. If you have the weight of the world, try to let it roll off. Breathe. We can still care without literally carrying the weight. It's good to be compassionate, but we don't need to carry the stress for others. Fill up ourselves, and then we can show up for others. If we get weighed down by it, then we're just weighed down. Take one more deep breath in. Deep breath out, hands around the front foot. Walk your hands a little bit forward on the blocks, and then walk the back foot in. So if you do feel the weight of the world, you're totally normal and you're a compassionate, wonderful person. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong by caring. I care, for sure. Now squeeze the right leg. Lift it up. Keep the contraction in the butt and the leg, and just try to open up to half moon and see what you feel. Might not go far, so bring the toes back down. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Even there, we're letting go of some of that stress. So it's normal to build up that stress to care, but we don't need to carry it forever. So this is a practice of letting it go. Inhale, reach up. Now soft around the right thigh, right foot. See now if you can open up to half moon a little bit deeper. Perfect. Now press strong through the left foot. Squeeze everything strong from here once you get your shape. And then reach your right arm up to the sky. I almost fell over. If you fall, no problem. Just come back to it. It's a practice. We just keep coming back to our center. One more deep breath in. Exhale, hands down. Perfect. Press through your feet, roll all the way on up to standing. Shake everything out a little. Full breath in. Full breath out. Pressing more firm into the right foot, so to hover the left leg up. So initially we can find some of that contraction to get our balance. Then I'm going to soften around the left leg as we bring that knee up and focus, especially as we're getting used to it, on relaxing a bit around the hip so that we can rotate that thigh bone open, then get our muscle cast, crossover, have a seat. And if you want to play around with too, like what would it be like if I kept my legs super, super strong, then crossed over? How far would it go? Versus, of course, we relax around the thigh, the hip, and then we rotate open, cross that ankle over, come back to our squared hips. From there, start to strengthen up and sit our butt back and down. For me, my knee goes way more open. So what we're doing then, as I've said, I know I'm repeating, but I feel like for me, when I learn, I need to hear it a few times, and that's okay. So what's happening in that leg bone is if we're relaxed, all those tiny little muscle attachments have more room to open it up, if that makes sense. So this is just stage one. You might hear different information for me way later on when we're talking about different poses, but for the majority of them, it's a really good idea. Can we soften? Really to protect that knee, open up, create space in the hip joint, and from there, find our strength and stability as we go deeper. Take 2 deep breaths. Full breath in, full breath out. Take another really deep breath in, deep breath out. Sit your butt down and back, heart forward. Breathe. And your biggest judge of alignment is always going to come from you. How does it feel in your body? How do you feel? Press through your standing foot, come all the way up. Reach your arms up. Squeeze now through your thigh. Extend your foot straight out. Point your toes if you want to. Take a deep breath in. Squeeze through the core. On an exhale, hands to heart. And now swoop these left toes to the back. Bend the standing leg at least a little. You might start to feel it in your butt, your back. That's all good and okay. Bend the standing leg. High lunge just for a moment. Full breath in. Full breath out. Hands to the floor. Amazing. Step back. Downward dog. Let's practice that beloved low push-up. Inhale, lift the heels, squeeze through the legs, round forward. High push-up. On your exhale, pull forward, lower down, low push-up. Upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Lift your right leg high. Pull the knee to the nose. Cross your shin across your mat. So angle it so the toes come to your left wrist and the knee towards your right wrist. Set the shin down. So if you're tight, you can do figure 4. Otherwise, you can always bring this foot a little closer towards the hip joint. Or if you need a little deeper stretch, bringing that shin closer towards the top of your mat will give you that deeper stretch. From here, we're going to square off our hips. So this is another one where it might be a little bit different for how we stretch or strengthen. So squeeze the right butt. See what that feels like in your leg. You'll notice you come out of it a little bit because that strength hinders the deeper stretch. And that's not good or bad. It's just different for right now. Feel. I realize that might sound confusing. Teach you one thing and I'm like, well, this one's different. There's so many different poses that have so many different benefits. But mostly what I want to stretch. Ooh, stretch. Does feel good. Speaking of, relax now. See how that feels. That might feel good to you too. So there's passive and active pigeon. So you can stay propped up. We're relaxing into it now as much as we can. Heart forward, hips squared as much as we can. This left hip is drawing to the floor. Our heart pulls forward, and you might notice that stretches it more too. If it's too much on your right butt, again, we have figure 4, where you can prop a block or a pillow under the thigh. What I was going to say is the biggest thing I want to stress through any of this is when we're doing that ankle over a thigh position, keep the knee safe. In all of this, keep the knee safe. And we can do that by creating that muscular cast, bringing awareness, and our breath. Shift forward if you like, if it feels good. So one of the reasons I love to move slow is because it gives your body the time to notice how everything really feels. The slower we move, the more we're moving on intention versus from autopilot. So when we're always moving intentionally, this will help reduce any kind of injury because you're going so slow, your body has time to stop you. Breathe. Take a moment to check in on your mood. Talked about how the hip stretches would bring up different emotions. We store different emotions. So if you feel yourself getting annoyed, whether it's at me or a former memory, just breathe. 2 more breaths. Come on up to long arms. Tuck your back toe. Lift up. Shake out that right leg a little. Downward dog. Notice what you feel going on in your hips. Step. Lift the left leg high. Knee to the same side wrist. Foot to the opposite wrist. Set your shin across the mat. Adjust how you need. Untuck the back toes. Toes go straight back. So to get started, let's squeeze through the hip. Lift up a little maybe. Square the hips. We're going to pull the right hip forward, left hip back. It's okay if you come out of the stretch. Just squeezing maybe 10-20% effort. And then on an exhale, soften as we relax around the hip. It's like we're naturally letting the flexibility come then. You don't need to go forward, but if you want to go forward, you can. Or if you want to prop a block. Breathe. Come onto forearms if and when you're ready. Focus so intensely on your breath and whatever sensations you feel in your hip. And while you are noticing your hip, can you even feel your back toes press down? Like the toenails are rooted to the mat. Two more breaths. Take one more deep breath in. Deep breath out. Come on up. Plant your palms. Tuck the back toes. The next part is the best part. Step back, downward dog. Well, the part after downward dog anyway. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. Let's inhale, round forward to our high push-up. Option to shift back to downward dog, otherwise lower no more than halfway. Upward facing dog. Slingshot the heart forward. Shoulders back, heart forward. Crown of the head lifts up. Breath in. Exhale, downward dog. And have a seat, just like when we started. Perfect. I'm going to head into that meditation I mentioned in the beginning. And it's vitally important. And I've known this, and I've learned it many different places, but I heard and learned last night that when there's a boxing match on TV, I guess there was a study, that murder rates would go up by 12%. Just from the violence that people are watching and engaging with. The murder rates would go up. And there's been a number of studies done where in major cities, large groups, really large groups of people would meditate together. And over a 2-week period, violent crime rates would drop based on the emotion that the collective were feeling. And so I mention this because a lot of people think meditation like, oh, cool, I'll feel better, I will focus better. Yes, that's true. But also, I think it's so important that it does help shift the world. And you may not notice and you may not feel it immediately, but it does make a difference. Your presence, you being centered in yourself, makes a difference. So no pressure in this meditation. But really be open to whatever you do feel. I just wanted to mention that really quickly because if you feel like you're wasting your time or you're not doing anything, it does make a difference. So thank you for doing this meditation with me. I appreciate it, as does the world. Ground down through your butt bones. We practiced this in the beginning, our grounding. It's difficult to meditate when our thoughts are distracted. That's why we did our yoga practice first. We get into our body, we get grounded. Imagine a red line drawing from your tailbone all the way down into the center of the earth. You can visualize it however you want to feel. You don't have to think it's real. Just the visualization is enough for your brain to get the idea and to ground your body down. Whatever we tell ourselves in the mind will do what it can to make it happen. That red line going down. On an inhale, imagine you're breathing from that red line, from your tailbone, all the way up through the heart. This time we're going to go breath all the way up to the crown of the head. And exhale right back down through the spine, through the body, through that red line into the earth. So we're starting to get this wave action. Inhale, lift up all the way to the heart, to the crown of your head, and higher if you want to connect to whatever your version of God, the universe, spirit, whatever that realm is, or maybe just picture a cloud. It really doesn't matter, just that we're drawing our energy up and we're connected to something bigger than us, even if that's just the sky. The sky is pretty amazing, so that's a great place to be. Exhale, ground right back down through your butt bones into the earth. Imagine that red line. Inhale, breathe in from that red line. And for me, when it gets around the hips, it changes to a white color, but you can change it to whatever color you want or stick with red. Red is really significant for grounding. Inhale, reach up through the crown of your head up towards whatever that connection is for you. Exhale one more time, all the way back down to the earth on your breath out. Same pattern, but a little bit different. Inhale from the ground, reach all the way up. Imagine from the crown of your head as if that line was connecting up to something higher than you, a cloud, spirit, guardian angel, your higher self. 1,000 different things, you can name it. What resonates with you? Exhale, allow that energy, that breath, to fall just around the heart center now, and see if you can expand it out. One more time. Inhale from the ground all the way up high. And on the exhale, we're taking a little bit of that higher energy too, pulling it into the crown chakra if you want to get specific, but really just into our body and then out around the heart. So we start to feel, even if it's so subtle, we'll feel this little expansion around the heart. And what this creates is your own energy boundary, but also you're pulling that higher, good energy, a very, really clear, really balanced energy. I consider it the energy of love, but you can call it whatever you want. Reiki energy out around you. So then instead of fear and terror and stress, we start to fill up our environment with love. 2 more times. Breathe in from the ground up. Connect all the way up. Exhale just around the heart center. Can you expand that breath, that energy in all directions around you, even behind you? Now keep the eyes closed. 2 more times, imagining on your own, pulling from the ground all the way up. On the exhale, to naturally allow that breath to fall around the heart and push out. And shifting from really intentionally drawing that breath up and down and out, up from the ground, down from the higher self and out around the heart. Now see whatever your brain wants to imagine is perfect. There's no good or bad, no right or wrong to do this. But what would it be like for you to imagine that energy, if there was an energy coming down from above through the top of your head? So this is that Reiki energy we can all tap into, and out around the heart. And now just think of it as a tap flowing. And what would it feel like if You could get that to radiate from your heart. Can you feel your own energy change? And if you feel it's not working, if you're not sure what to do, that's okay. Just imagine, what would it be like if? So for me, I imagine this really, it's almost yellowish, kind of. Yeah, I really like yellow. So just like this really light, bright white to yellow color coming in through the top. Mine sparkles a little because I like sparkles. And then I just imagine it fills all the way up through the column of my spine. But in particular, right now, it can just go to the heart. And then it expands and floods out. And remember, there's studies that show when people come to this again and again and again, it can change the behavior of people who aren't meditating. So you feeling good about yourself, ripple effects into everybody else. I think that's why the self-care is so important to me. I came from a place of deeply depressed about the world, like not functioning because the world was too depressing. Why bother? And even though I cared, I wasn't doing anything about it. But then when I took care of my own beliefs, my own values, how I showed up for myself, then I had the energy to actually do something about the social issues that I cared about. And right now, what's going on with Ukraine is horrible and terrible. And so I care about that, but it doesn't weigh me down. And I almost feel a little bit guilty saying that, which is another thing I need to work on. We shouldn't feel guilty for not carrying the weight. I think that's a reason, it's a broad statement, but I think that's a reason that oppression keeps working, is because it gets us to feel guilty for things that are out of our control. And so then we get depressed and then we don't do anything about it, right? But can we show up with our own self-compassion and love and strength? And from there, then have the strength to address other issues. Even if you're just starting with meditation, even if you're just starting by centering yourself and letting that energy ripple effect out. Take 5 more breaths together, just for that. Inhale, lift up through the crown of your head. If you lost it, reimagine. Even if it starts as imagining, that's perfect. It's a practice till you feel the energy, but the more you practice, you will feel. And then every exhale can amplify that energy going out. And for our last few breaths, imagine, what if you just didn't fill up the room around you? Can you imagine that energy, that really pure, balanced, loving energy? What if it filled up your whole house? Imagine what that would feel and look like. And from there, imagining it spreading out to your entire town or city. And so this is not your own energy. This is that higher above energy that we're bringing down to fill us up and shift out. And then further from your own city, what if you could imagine it wrapping around the entire world, eventually coming all the way back to you? Feel how that feels. And breathe. So if anybody is feeling overwhelmed or too much, just want to let you know that that's okay too. You don't need to feel guilty that you are feeling guilty. It just amplifies it. Just be where you are, and that's okay. There is a lot going on, and it's okay if it makes you feel sad. Honor whatever you are feeling, and we come back here to work through that, to shift those emotions out. And if you need further help, reach out. I am here. Take 2 more breaths, thinking of something that you are grateful for. And not just in a like, oh, these are my go-to gratitudes, water, air, but what is something new? What is something today that you could feel grateful for? Remembering that the higher your own energy is, then you can show up better for others. So it's not selfish to pause and think of your own things to be grateful for when there are terrible things going on, but starting to reframe of, I can be whole, I can be appreciative of what I have, and I can show up when I need to. And if you aren't feeling all the way whole, again, that's okay. Compassion for wherever you are. It's really what the yoga is about. Can you be compassionate for where you are and compassionate for others? But it starts with you. Okay, it's getting into a monologue. So let's just have one final stretch and then our Savasana. Deep breath in through the nose. Open up your mouth, breathe out, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Full breath in, full breath out. Chin to chest. Inhale, left ear, left shoulder. Full breath in, full breath out. Breathe in, breathe out. Shavasana. Lay down. Ankles side to side. Relax everything down. Let your breath fall to a normal pattern. Soften around the hips, the ankles, the knees. Have a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Relaxing even your jaw. And we'll be here for about 3 minutes. Staying longer if it suits you. Taking a deep breath in and out when you're ready. And go any other bits of tension. And rolling onto one side. Pressing up with that top hand. Palms together. Take a moment for yourself. Notice, honor, and appreciate the time you took for yourself today. And we do the same for each other. I notice, honor, and appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for practicing with me. And good girl. Can you lay down? Can you down? Oh. Rotate that bone. I need to get a skeleton, I think. Back. Pull your right toes towards your flake. Good girl. Good girl.